Exposed. Written by Suzana Thompson. Narrated by Lauren Sweet. Chapter 20. I stood there like a deer in the headlights as Josh sauntered toward us. The next thing I knew, Tyler had his arm around my shoulders and pulled me slightly off balance as he dragged me into his side.
"How's it going, Ella?"
he boomed.
"What the hell are you doing?"
Mason demanded.
"Get your hands off her,"
he exclaimed, and gave Tyler a shove.
"Hey,"
Tyler protested as he removed his arm from my shoulders.
"I'm not trying to steal your girl. Ella and I are buds."
Mason scowled at him.
"Since when?" "Since I found out that she's like this cool assassin. She's been upgraded from hot babe to badass."
Mason appeared to be mollified and slightly amused.
"Badass is better than hot babe?"
"Yeah," Tyler confirmed, seeming to be completely serious.
"There are hot babes everywhere, but not many girls are badass. I've always wanted to be friends with a girl like that." "You've never been friends with a girl in your life,"
Josh said.
"You don't talk with a girl longer than it takes to hook up with her."
At least he doesn't pretend like he wants to date her, I thought, as I avoided looking at Josh. Tyler had distracted me enough to compose myself, but I was still on edge. I didn't really think that Josh would say anything in front of everyone, but the threat hung over me.
"That's because I've never met a girl like Ella before,"
Tyler said.
"She's the first one I haven't wanted to hook up with." "You tried to pick her up at Mason's party,"
Josh pointed out. He'd actually tried to solicit my services while under the impression that I was a prostitute, but Mason had forbidden them from ever calling me that again. Since Josh had phrased it in a way that avoided mentioning that word, he must have taken Mason's threat seriously. That realization gave me hope that he wouldn't dare tell Mason about him and me.
"That was before I knew how cool she was,"
Tyler told him. Mason laughed.
"Your logic makes no sense, but it works for me as long as you keep your hands off her."
Tyler raised his hands, palms out.
"I swear, we'll fist bump only."
He made a fist with his right hand and held it out to me. It made me smile, and I bumped fists with him. He smiled back, and it seemed like such a genuine, friendly smile. I marveled again at how different he was from the sleazy, obnoxious guy I had always assumed him to be. Amazingly, I could actually picture myself being friends with him. Mason took hold of my hand, drawing my attention back to him. He smiled at me too, but his smile gave me that fluttery, excited feeling. It was so obvious to me now that he was the guy for me. I had tried to fight my feelings for him, but I didn't want to anymore, now that I had discovered the side of him I had always wished for. He had been there for me when I needed him, without expecting anything in return, and he was including me in his future plans. He was turning out to be the boyfriend of my dreams, and I allowed that to become my focus so that I could avoid thinking of the part of my life that had derailed. It seemed that whenever something went right for me, something else went wrong. I didn't want to dwell on that, though, so I ignored the negative in favor of the positive. At least until Josh accosted me after class later that day.
"What's your answer?"
he demanded. I decided to call his bluff. "My answer is no." He shrugged.
"I guess you don't care if he dumps you."
He simply walked away then. Having expected him to try to coerce me with more empty threats, I was thrown into a tailspin when it appeared that he meant to actually follow through. I rushed to catch up with him. "Wait!" He stopped and turned to face me.
"Well?"
he demanded, after waiting for me to say something. "Aren't you afraid of what he'll do to you?" I asked desperately.
"I've been thinking about that," he replied coolly. "You told me yourself that he wasn't really in the mafia, and then he admitted that he lied about you and your mom. So he's probably been lying about the mafia thing, too.
I tried to get him to second-guess himself. Are you sure about that? He smirked at me.
You seem awful eager all of a sudden to convince me that your boyfriend is in the mafia. Why is that, Ella?
I dropped the pretense and appealed to his honor. You said that you would never force a girl. You told me that story about your dad beating up that rapist and how proud you are of him. Was that all just bullshit? His eyes narrowed at me as anger flared in them.
I'm not forcing you, Ella. I'm not some filthy rapist, and you're not any kind of victim. You came on to me behind your boyfriend's back, and now you want to play innocent. I know you're not, but he doesn't have to. It's all up to you.
That's blackmail, I retorted. He shrugged.
It's a deal. You get what you want, and I get what I want.
Please don't do this, I pleaded. Please, Josh. Please be the good guy I know you are. He was completely unmoved by my plea.
Yes or no?
Josh, I begged.
Yes or no?
He demanded again. I can't, I said, as tears sprang to my eyes. He gave me a cold smile.
You see? I can take no for an answer.
He walked past me then, and I didn't try to follow him this time. There was no point, since he wouldn't be swayed by anything I said. I held out the tiniest bit of hope that he wouldn't go through with it, and that's what kept me from completely panicking. I needed to keep it together and get through this day so that I could seek advice from Alice after school. At least I wouldn't have to sit at the same table with Josh during lunch, since I'd already told Mason that I was going to sit with Alice. I wanted to tell her everything right now, but I couldn't do that at school. I had assumed that Josh couldn't tell Mason at school either, but I had badly misjudged him again. Since I wasn't expecting it, Mason was able to ambush me. I heaved a sigh of relief as I walked out of my last class before lunch. My mind was on meeting up with Alice, so I was slow to react when I saw Mason standing outside my classroom. Oh, I responded, starting to realize that he was going to walk me to the cafeteria despite our agreement to sit separately.
Josh told me about you and him.
His words froze me in my spot, and I stared at him as all the blood drained from my face. He watched me, his neutral gaze sharpening into that chilling, predatory stare.
It's true,
he stated. Mason, I said, his name a plea on my lips. He stiffened, and the feral look went out of his eyes. They turned icy cold. He had never looked at me like that before, not even when he hated me. There'd always been a spark between us, whether it was anger or lust. But now there was nothing.
Well,
he said.
That's it then.
His gaze shifted away from me, and he walked past me without a backward glance. My heart seized up, and I gasped out a choked breath. I had lost Mason, just when he had finally become mine.